Hi, you guys. Welcome back. I'm Dr. Karitha Yeager, your host for Embrace Your Unique Self, where you are learning to discover the inner healing practices to trust your intuition, reclaim self-worth, and love the skin you're in. And today's expert, I'm so excited, is Maria Aleandra Rodriguez. Maria is a coach, trainer, and speaker and podcast host who specializes in helping women unlock their true potential and reach deeper levels of greatness and freedom while they make an impact on the world. Through a combination of strategic and intuitive coaching, she guides her clients into aligning with their purpose, living authentically, stepping into leadership, and activating an empowered mindset. She believes that the key to thriving is honoring and integrating our inner drive with our divine wisdom. And she's the creator of Rock Your Life movement, an online community that encourages women all over the world to awaken their inner power and show up with passion and purpose. I mean, who doesn't love that? So joining us from Puerto Rico today, a very warm welcome to Maria Aleandra. Thanks for being here.
Thank you, Clarita. It is my absolute pleasure to be here. And hello to all of your amazing viewers. Can I just say, I love the title of your show. It every time I hear you say it or I read it, it sends like a ripple of just like soothing, it's like calibrated to help you take a deep breath. So
thank you for saying that.
Very much needed. So thank you for creating this, and thank you for stepping into your power in this way. It's very cool.
Thanks for recognizing that. I receive it. Thank you.
Yeah.
So I've followed you for a little bit now, and you've got a lot going on in your life, but I was hoping you could share with the audience a little bit about your journey and about how you got to the work with women and around leadership and living, connecting that divine wisdom. If you could share a little bit about your story.
Yeah, absolutely. So quick sort of like cliff notes. I actually worked in the corporate world for nearly 16 years. I worked for a large broadcasting network in marketing and branding. I started off as a very junior person, and then I up until my last position with them was senior marketing director. So I had a very long and wonderful career with them. And much like a lot of the women that I know you probably speak with and I speak with, there was always something more that was calling me from deep within. There was always that something else, even though all the things seemed to be going well, there was that yearning and that desire to awaken something that it's like I wasn't living to my fullest potential. And yet on paper, it all looked like all good, but there was something that was still untapped. And I lived with that, and I thought, okay, well, that maybe is just part of how I'm going to be for the rest of my life. And that's just part of, what it is. And let's say it was the end of 2015 where I had a really kind of, one of those really tough periods of time where a lot of things happened that all came like back to back to back, that really forced me to take a pause. And I had always been into self-development and all that stuff, books and all that, but there was something about that particular moment in time that really caused me to really focus in much more deliberately and intentionally on what I wanted to create moving forward. And again, there were a few things that happened personally. Professionally, my job was going well. It was just incredibly, I had a ton of anxiety, a ton of things going on. So that was the end of 2015. And I knew at that time that something kind of clicked. And I started on a deeper journey of really discovering what the heck I was meant to do without knowing how it would materialize. I had no clue, but I became that much more deliberate and intentional about declaring the things I wanted to create in the next 2 years, 3 years. And at the time, honestly, it didn't really seem completely plausible because I was like, I don't know how I'm going to shift from what I'm doing now to this other thing that looks completely different, but here we go. And through, in the next couple of years, I continued on in that deeper journey, getting coaching, really tapping into my spirituality, understanding myself more intuitively. I've always been very intuitive since I was a little girl, very much tapped into like something bigger that you can't quite explain. And so I became much more intentional about just embracing and exploring all of those things and going through really stretchy periods of my life where I was like putting myself out there. It was a bunch of different things. And then magically, the universe aligned itself so that I actually got laid off from my job. And this was early February of last year. It's February 6th of 2018. And that, of course, was it was like, some positions were cut from the department. So it was a surprise. And yet I knew instantly, like, there was something bigger in the works. And so right away I went into, okay, this is the time to do the thing I've always wanted to do and figure it out. And so that then set me off on a path of really like, okay, this is it. And through, again, coaching and, really getting immersed in understanding, not just understanding what I wanted to do, but actually like launching into it, like taking the steps and building the momentum. And this is what I talk about, what I coach on, what I believe in is the combination of mindset, magic, and momentum. Mindset, of course, being mindset is what will get you to create all of the things, because without an empowered mindset, forget it. When I say magic, I talk about our own intuitive knowing, that deeper sense of being able to explore and stretch into the unknown and trust a deeper part of us that hasn't yet been written, that isn't yet like in the tangible world. And then momentum, of course, is that thing that creates, like, whenever we want to create something, unless we step into momentum, it's nearly impossible to bring it to fruition. So those three things I've been cultivating and really calibrating into over this past few years, to the point where now I have the privilege of, coaching other women through a variety of different, one-on-one coaching groups, through Rock Your Life, through things like this, where there's an opportunity to bring a conversation alive of how we really step into our power, like now, not like someday, maybe, when, not like, no, like now, because it's a choice. That's where the mindset work really comes in. And so, yeah, I've had the privilege of being now a full-time coach. I was certified as a coach like 6 years ago through a program that the University of Miami has. So that had always been like in the back of my mind, like cooking, those things where you like piece your life together and you're like, oh yeah, so that's why that and that and that. So here's where I am today. And so I'm a coach, speaker, trainer. I do workshops and things like that. Podcast host. I co-host a podcast with my husband, actually. Mid this past year, he had been a teacher. He's a science teacher. And so we decided that he would leave his job so we could focus on co-creating this business together, which is a huge leap for us. So I'm very much into female empowerment and also co-creating with your partner. That's a big part of the lessons I've gone through myself in my life. And a lot of the women that I magnetize are in that kind of like same space. So it's been an amazing journey, and it keeps growing and it keeps going, and it's just so cool. So cool. Yeah.
And well, it's great that some people are like the journey, and you're like the journey, yay!
Yeah.
Which I know it's not always like rainbows and like unicorns all the time.
Totally.
That's not been the case for you too. But the acknowledgement and the gratitude that we can have for the journey, and like you said, seeing those pieces of our life kind of put together and being like, oh, that's why that came in to serve me in this way.
Yes.
And I think it takes a greater awareness of just an awareness without judgment to be able to do that.
Yeah. And I'm glad you said that, because part of what I experience a lot is that sort of like, oh, the journey, and the story's always like, oh, the struggle and what I've been through, and oh my gosh. And yes, I've had all of the, crappy things happen, of course, like everybody else, and some that I wasn't expecting that really hit me hard over these past few years. And again, it's that when you dwell in sort of possibility, it's like it all just kind of aligns. You get to trust that it aligns to serve you, and you get to trust that you have the resilience to move through it. That's one word that I kept thinking about over the past few years when a lot of things were kind of coming my way. It was like, this is my time to build the resilience for other things to come. So whoever out there finds himself in a spot where you're like, things are like really, really, really funky right now. Like, I don't know how, I can't see beyond, like, know that I was also in that space of, I can't see beyond this little bit right here. And so first it was about establishing just the idea of believing, just opening the door to believing in what could it look like to emerge as the woman that I was meant to be, even though I didn't have a whole ton of evidence to show me that that was possible. So I love that you point that out, because I think that's what we hear a lot, especially in this industry. It's like everybody has like the story of the struggle. And sometimes I feel like if you know, if, when we reframe it and we just change the lens on it, it doesn't devalue it. It just shows that, you know, why dwell in that when you can just look into something brighter and broader and more expansive.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Not so much a burden, more of a blessing.
Yeah, yes. Beautifully said. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, you had mentioned a little bit about mindset, magic, and momentum, which I know is part of you sort of like developed that from like within, and that is kind of like the foundation of your Rock Your Life coaching program, right?
Yes. Yes. So Rock Your Life was born earlier this year. I had an online series just like this one called Rock Your Life. And really the message behind it was how to live from a place of more empowerment, confidence, mindfulness. It was like sprinkling in all the things that I knew would be valuable to bring into a life that was really moving you forward instead of keeping you, you know, stuck. And so from that, I developed a Rock Your Life coaching program where right now I've had the pleasure of guiding these incredible women for the past 6-8 months, actually. We're wrapping up now. And it's been, oh my God, a journey of really setting the foundation for who they get to be. Not just what they want to do, because they all come in with goals and, you know, the ideas of, okay, can you help me do this? We bring it really into the foundation of who you get to be, how you get to show up in the world, what your mindset is, so that you can develop the endurance to bring your dreams not only into fruition, but keep them going and keep them in momentum. Because for women like us who have a calling, we have a vision, we have a deep intuitive knowing that we're meant to serve the world in a really beautiful way. And that could be in our community, in our family, it could be on a broad stage, it could be internationally. It doesn't matter in what aspect. We know, and I know for sure that the women that you're calling forth, whoever's watching this, they're part of our tribe. They're part of that woman, that man who's like I know I'm here for something really, really powerful. And so in order to really step into that, you get to set up a very solid foundation, who you are, how you trust yourself, how you work both very strategically and intuitively. So that's where I see the alignment of your inner drive, that ambition, that like, all right, let's get it done, with your divine wisdom. And that piece that you know and you express so well, Clarissa, of really tapping into the core of who you are. Like that's really the combination of those two is where the magic happens. So I've had the pleasure of guiding a group of women who have experienced incredible success and a true transformation from within that they wouldn't even, you know, they tell me, they say, you know, you could see things for me that I had no idea were coming. And it's because I have one of my special gifts is having like a vision. I'm a total visionary. And so I'm a visionary in my own life and in the lives of others. Like I can see ahead and really walk someone through that path with all the stumbling blocks. And so we've had great success there. And now I've developed Rock Your Life Academy, which is my new core signature program. And it's really, like you said, those are the pillars of it. So really working on that mindset, that magic of who you are, and the momentum to bring you forward and get you actually doing the things. I always say, let's get those dreams out of your journals and into like life, you know, like everybody comes to me with like, so I have this notebook full of ideas. What do I do? And I'm like, all right, let's get those ideas out of the journals or out of like your notes app on the phone, you know, when you get a thought and you're like, ooh, or you go to bed at night and you're like, all the things. Okay, well, let's bring them into life and let's build the momentum to show you what's possible. Because that's where we get stuck, because we don't start for all the myriad reasons: perfectionism, thinking we're not enough, not worthy, what are people going to say, external judgment, who do I think I am? Who do I think I am? Itis is one that I like suffered from and I'm still dissolving. You know, it's just this collection of things that keeps, you know, I always say women, we are our most untapped resource, like for sure. And instead of living in a space where you're constantly trying to seek externally the thing that you think you need, it's really it comes from within. Like, yes, get guidance, get coached, get resourced, get supported, and know that you've got it. So that's what really Rock Your Life, the essence of it is a call to action, to really live from that space every day, and to be who you really dream that you can be, like, in the moment, and to get support and get, like, it's like a lot of what I do, I think, is also I sort of open like little windows and little doors for people, because it's like you kind of see it, but it might be there's a window that's a little bit clouded. And so a lot of what I do is kind of like, here, let's take a look at this. And it's like, oh, just this awareness of where either your blocks are in your old stories that you can shift and dissolve, and the opportunities that lie within you, and the opportunities that you have to move your life forward and create the things you want to create. Because, hello, the world needs us to, like, step up and show up every single day in our greatness and our joy and our, like, power. That's what we're here for.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I love how you brought up the journal thing, because, like, some people are like, oh, well, here it all is. These are all my ideas. These are all my goals and dreams. And it's like, you have to integrate, like, it can't stay all the way up here, or it can't be just, like, purely, like, a spiritual thing. You have to integrate both of them. So I love that your program focuses on that.
Yes, totally. Yeah.
Because I want to know, and I'm sure the audience might want to know too, like, with the women that you've worked with this past year, like, what can you say, like, what area of their life you're seeing, like, the biggest challenge with? Is it sort of just getting those ideas out of their head and kind of cleaning the window, like you were saying, a little bit, so it's a little less cloudy?
I love that. It's a combination of things. So they certainly all came in with it was like there was always this thing they wanted to do, like, whether it was create something, launch something, so a lot of them had really great success, from, like, building businesses to launching podcasts to starting to develop workshops. I mean, I work with a variety of different kinds of women. And I'd say the common denominator is, and this is also a personal reflection of my own journey, is there's that knowing that there's something more, and then there's always something, there's, like, this invisible wall that stops us from actually taking that first step. And when I think about it, like, what makes up that wall, I think it's there's a resistance and a fear to getting messy. There's a resistance and a fear to really using our voice, to being visible in a way that we think might make others uncomfortable, to really, like, own who we are. There's this, I feel like a lot of driven women do this. It's like we mitigate ourselves a little bit. There's, like, too muchness.
Yes.
Like, I don't know if you get this from the people that you serve as well, but
I mean, I know I've struggled with that.
Yeah.
A lot of the women that I've talked to have also been like, I don't know if I can do that, if it's worthy enough, or if it's too big for me, and I might, what do people think, type thing. And
yes.
If I get too big and I get too in my power.
Yes, exactly. And so that I hear it all the time, that I'm afraid of being too much, whatever that too much means. Mm-hmm. And it shows up differently for different people. And that's something that I struggled with too. So it was that, like, too much, and what are they going to say? And that has the power to completely paralyze anything that's yearning to come from within. And the way, and here's the thing, and what's coming up for me now is the idea of really understanding your calling. So something that I feel is a conversation that we get to shift is we see our calling as something that we've got to go find. Like, I've got to find my calling, find my purpose, it's sort of like it lives externally. And, I believe, as I'm sure you do, that your calling comes from within, of course, right? So you'd think, oh, well, duh. So to realize that your calling is not, it's not like, oh, I'm going to go find it, but it's actually to trust that your calling is bringing to you that which it needs to fully like blossom and crack open. So when we sit in that space of that, then all of a sudden the opportunities or the stretchy, uncomfortable things, the things that come to us that we're like, oh, wow, we're able to step into them more deliberately and more intentionally, because there's that sense of, I'm not, it's not that I'm doing this is like, this is being done. Like this is all it's all coming together for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
And when you trust that, and you trust in launching yourself a little bit more into the unknown, getting messy, being a beginner, this idea of, unless it's perfect, I'm not going to do it. This idea of, and I suffered from this for years. Like you want to get it all perfect, and then like, here it is. And It's like, you're so afraid to show the cracks because you're afraid that people won't take you seriously, or that whatever, it's, and then I always say to my clients, I say, you get to embrace being a beginner, experimenting. This is like a laboratory. What is it? What is, when you're in a lab, you're willing to see things blow up or change colors, or, and the intention with which you do it. And you have a goal in mind, right? You have like an idea that what you want to come to fruition, but you're also open to what happens along the way.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of what I think the main thing we struggle with is that point of, there's so much that's like being birthed within us, and then we kind of stop.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the piece where the mindset and the momentum really can help you like step over it into a space of like, oh, okay. Because if not, then procrastination sets in. We think about all the other things, like, anything else besides doing the thing we want to do, whether it's the toilet needs to be cleaned or another, whatever comes up that you're like, maybe I'll just go do this other thing before I get.
Yeah.
And do you follow me? Is this making sense?
Yeah. The things that are known and are easier and you know how to do, excuse me, just look a little bit more interesting to do at the moment when we hit that wall, and when we come to like that.
So if you can recognize, so if you can recognize that, oh, I'm aware enough that this is what's happening and this is normal, because my system is keeping me with the known, and not what's unknown is uncomfortable. So I talk a lot. One of the things I always focus on is when people hit like a block, it's like, oh great, you just hit your comfort zone. Let's celebrate. Awesome. That means now what we get to do is like, okay, let's look at it and see like what's in the gap. Like what is keeping me from now moving that comfort zone, stretching it just a little bit further at this point in time, and what will that take? And who do I get to be in the process? Right. Not so much about what to do, but who do you get to be? And so the courage, the resilience, the vision, and really tapping back into your vision, like getting clear about what you want to create. And it doesn't even have to be so specific, because I also think people get like caught up in, if I don't know exactly what I'm going to do, then then you get paralyzed. Because it's like, oh, no, until I have it clear, I'm not going to move or do anything. Well, you at least want to know what you want to feel like. Maybe you don't know exactly what you want to do, but you want to feel a sense of ease, freedom. You want to feel empowered. You want to feel more authentic, confident. Okay, so let's move into that direction. But actually like get in motion, because that's really when the magic happens. And that's when you're like, oh, you begin to collect new evidence of what's possible, versus focusing on the evidence you've already collected over time of what may not totally be possible.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I love that. I loved how you just explained that. So thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah.
I think that will help a lot of people. Hopefully that helps a lot of the audience. I hope.
Yeah.
So I also want to ask you about your podcast, which is called The Couple Shift, and which you do with your husband, which I listened to a few episodes before our interview, and I was like, you guys are so adorable together.
Oh my God. Thank you for that. I love that you listened to them.
And I didn't know your husband was an ex-science teacher. And the conversation I was listening to, like now I'm like, yeah.
Now it makes sense.
Yeah. But you guys were talking about having a word of the year, which I am big on word of the year. And so since this is like, it's January now as people are watching this, and I'm a big word of the year person. I don't subscribe to resolutions either. I just like having sort of like this general theme for the year, whether it's like around mindset stuff or like actionable things that you're actually going to be doing, whatever. So can you talk about why you think having a word of the year is important?
Yeah. So yes, I don't really believe in New Year's resolutions because that. So word of the year to me is really the essence that you want to embody in the year. So it's an opportunity for a breakthrough in some area of your life that you want to stretch more into. It could be that, or it could be something that your system just needs to really get calibrated and get grounded in this phase of your life, because everybody's in a different season, everybody's in a different phase. And I've been declaring a word of the year for the past 5 years. So this will be the 5th year. And it really started going back to that 2015, like the end of 2015 was really challenging. So into 2016, that's when I first read about it, heard about it, something, it made sense. And I was like, okay, I get to. And the word that really was like, it came to me very intuitively back then was believe. And it was the space of when I didn't, like I was saying before, I didn't know the how of any of the things that I thought I wanted to create. All I could do was like believe. It was just that core piece of that's it. And the story of the words over the past few years is beautifully woven. And like when you look back on it, I don't know if you feel the same, but it's like it tells a story in itself after you've been doing it for a few years. And so I really believe in having that as the essence, and the fact that it's something that comes to you, like really open up to be very intuitive. So even if at first you sort of perceive like, oh, this could be my word, even if you have a judgment around it, because I did for my word this year for 2020, I was like, oh, I don't know if that's it. But then it kept coming and I was like, all right, that's on board. And now I'm like, I get it. And I'm sure when I look back on it, as I'm declaring my word for 2021, it'll become that much more clear for me. So for example, my word for 2019 was expand. And girlfriend, when I declared that at the end of 2018, I had no clue I had no clue what I was declaring. Let's just say that. Because when I said expand, and that was like, okay, great. And I knew, I wanted to, really launch my business powerfully. And this past year, 2019, was like expansion to the max. It was like a stretch out, like Gumby situation. And I was all for it. And I loved every minute of it. And it's been like, woo. And so it's powerful. And so in one of the podcast episodes, I was sharing with my husband my words and my word this year. And then I said, oh, you get to have a word too. And then he took it to the next level and said, oh, why don't we come up with a word as a couple? And that just blew my mind to bits when he said that. I was like, babe, you're wise beyond your years. That's it. So then we came up with a word as a couple. So I have my word, he has his word, and now we have an essence of how we want to move into 2020 together and really get this year started off strong. And it's been one of my favorite practices, and it's so simple, and it's so profound. So this year, I did a couple of workshops around it, like free workshops to really get people into, get my followers into their word of the year. And it's been really, really beautiful. Like every time I see someone on Instagram sharing my word of the year, I love reading like what's behind it, because there's this sense of you're cracking open into possibility, and you're really like visioning, like talk about vision, because your word of the year is something that you declare that you're stepping into. Not so much about like you get to release whatever is no longer serving you from last year, and then step into something that you're calling forth into your life. So to see people in that space is always so beautiful to me, because that's, that space of like vision and possibility and like wide open spaces is just, it makes my heart sing.
Lovely.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful place to be.
Yeah. So what's your word of the year?
It's funny that you had, so my word of the year for 2019 was clarity. And that was kind of applied to my purpose work, my vision, kind of from the inside out. And so for 2020, or 2020, 2020.
Yeah.
It's funny that you mentioned your word because I think I was thinking about it, and I think my word for 2020 is believe. So that's funny that you mentioned it because I was asking for signs of confirmation, and you're like the 10th
There it is.
in like a day. So
and that's what happens too, is when you think you've got it, then all of a sudden it's like all these things come to you. Of course, the universe has all its like little messenger ways to show you all the things, and it's like, oh, okay. So my word for 2020 is receive. And when I first like got it was like mid-November, early November. I was like, oh no. I was in total judgment. I was like, that sounds too weak. That sounds selfish. That sounds like, and then I started to really understand the deeper meaning. And to me, what I'm landing on is that in order to give, you must really know how to receive. It's like a sacred loop. And so receiving to me means being really open to receive all of like the wisdom, the intuition, receive the opportunities, receive the abundance, the prosperity. And it's really calibrated with like worth. And this is something that came up in the conversation with my husband in that recent podcast we did. He brought it up to me. He said, in order to receive, you get to know that you're worthy. And I got chills because that's part of the conversation that as women we have that really keeps us again in that invisible wall of, am I worthy enough to XYZ? And so after I said this gets to be my word, I felt this sense of like opening and this rawness about it. Because if you think about it, the only way to receive is to completely drop your armor. You can't receive if you're blocking anything. Right? In order to receive, you get to be just fully authentic. And so even as I say it, I still get chills because I'm like, whoa. So yeah, it's beautiful. And again, I'm excited to see what, as I keep anchoring into that essence of that throughout the year, what materializes and how I'm in relation to it. Because I still have a story of like, am I worthy enough of receiving? And when I open up to fully like receiving the bounty and anything that wants to come through, it's like, like, oh my gosh.
Yeah. Oh, that's a great word. So I would recommend everybody have a word, all the viewers,
your word.
Get your word for 2020 and see what you can open up and step into.
Yes.
And what resonates with you. So like chew on it for a couple days, but when the intuitive hit comes in, like pay attention.
Yeah, pay attention and trust it. And when you see the signs, just like Claritha said, be like, okay, got it. Even if it doesn't make a whole lot of sense, just be like, all right, I'm listening. Yeah.
So I just wanted to ask you one more thing, since we just, asked the audience to pick their word, but like, do you have any advice that you would like to give the audience today to help them sort of ways to implement for ways for them to rock their life?
Yes. Oh, I love that. It's to really, really believe in what you're here to bring forth. Like really, really, really believe in it. Like sit in awe of yourself, of everything that you've created. Acknowledge yourself for how far you've come in any way, shape, or form. And trust that what's being birthed within you in terms of what you want to create is not a whim. It's not like, oh, wouldn't it be nice if? It's not like, oh, a cute thing. It's there for a reason, whatever that may be. And surround yourself with women, just like you're doing now in this experience. Surround yourself with other people who will resonate with you and speak the same language, who will support you, who will give you feedback, so that you can be in a space of possibility. Because one of the things that I knew for me is that I hadn't been playing in a space of having these conversations. And so once I deliberately put myself in this, I was like, wow, I'm not alone. I don't have to lone wolf it. There are others out there like me, and we're in this together. So believe in yourself, believe in your calling, believe in the support of others, and receive. See what I did there? I just put our two words together.
I know. I was like, ooh,
Unplanned.
Yes.
Unplanned. But yes, believe and receive. Believe and receive. Like truly. Because then you're creating that loop of, okay, I know what's possible, and you're opening up to receiving that which, you know, the resources, the support, the love, the abundance, all of it that you require to keep moving yourself forward in life. And I acknowledge you for being here, for watching this, for being in this experience at the start of the year, because how powerful to come together with others to do the same. So it's very cool.
Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Thank you. Well, before we wrap up with Maria Aleandra, she's got a free gift for everyone. It is her 2020 Vision Printable Guide. So do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah. So it's a nice, juicy, printable document for you to basically, it's like a Rock Your Life starter kit kind of 2020 vision all packed into one. So it'll guide you a little bit more on, you know, maybe you've already declared your word, but you want to go a little bit deeper, really celebrating where you are and declaring some powerful intentions for what you want to create throughout the year as a starter point for you to get that clarity, like for you to begin downloading stuff and then getting into like a tiny piece of action around the things that you want to make happen so that you actually feel like you're building the momentum. So we'll talk, you know, it kind of breaks it into the 3 core sections of mindset, magic, momentum. And I'm all about, again, in the magic piece, I'm all about practices and rituals that really serve you to connect you to your higher self. So totally speak Claritha's language in that sense. I really believe in working with energy. I really believe in aligning with the power of nature. And so, you know, bringing a little bit of each of those components into your life as you kind of start to emerge in the next chapter that you design for yourself.
Awesome. Yeah. Thank you so much for your gift. And thanks for being here with us today. I think this was a great conversation, and I hope the audience enjoyed it as well. So I'd love to hear what the audience thought. So if you guys want to just hit reply and let me know what you think, I would love to know your takeaways from our chat with Maria Aleandra today. So thank you for being here, Maria Aleandra. Thank you so much for your adding your voice to this larger conversation that we're having all across the planet. So I appreciate you.
Yeah. Thank you so much for the invite, Claritha, and thank you again for creating this and for creating a platform and a space to have this conversation. It's absolutely magical and so empowering. And it was a pleasure to be with you all here today. I hope I get to see you guys again soon and have a magnificent, magnificent, magnificent 2020 ahead. I love you all.
Thank you so much, you guys. We'll see you soon.
Bye. Bye.